I would like to bring your attention back to a story that occurred about a week and a half ago on December 25th. We have a Drexel University professor, um, George Maher, who decided to make a tweet for a Christmas wish that he had, and that wish was for white genocide. Just so it wasn't ambiguous to the public, he decided to clarify, and he said, when the whites were massacred during the Haitian Revolution, that was a good thing indeed. So here we have a leftist intellectual elite at an elite institution that is training the youth of today to be leaders of the world tomorrow. If that's not a chilling thing, I'm not sure what is. And he's openly calling for white genocide and clarifying that that means using violence against white people. And it seems as though he means any time. Fast forward a couple of days later, about 5 days later, December 30th, this story comes out. Drexel University professor who called for white genocide to keep his job. So it seems as though we've got an institution that is backing an individual who's calling for violence against white people. We can assume that if they had a faculty member that was calling for a new Jewish Holocaust, they would probably part ways with that institution relatively quickly. So, now that we have that in context, move forward to the story that took place yesterday, December 4th, or not December, January 4th, and we've got a young lady by the name of Brittany Herring, and she and three of her friends, all black Chicago residents, decided to abduct and physically and mentally torture for hours a young white Trump supporter. They went so far as to scalp him. They actually cut parts of his hair off, and it seems as though they've cut parts of his scalp off. They sat him on the floor and basically yelled racial epithets and attacked white people and attacked Trump for hours and decided to live stream it. And whilst they had the sense to cut the blood off of the sweater that belonged apparently to one of the attackers, they didn't have the good sense to cut the live stream that was feeding to a social media platform that was going to be exposed to the world. And it was exposed to the world. Even with this 30-minute evidence, and apparently more videos have come out since then of these people doing their business, even with that 30-minute video, with faces, with videos, with admissions, we still have institutions like the Huffington Post coming out with headlines that read, "Man with special needs allegedly bound, gagged, and tortured on Facebook." Now, I haven't read this story, and I'm not really interested in the story. The headlines are what most people skim through, and just from the looks of this headline, you would never guess that 4 blacks from Chicago tortured one white person because of his race and because of his political views. Who knows if he was actually even a Trump supporter, but assuming he was, let's just assume that he was for a minute. Is that any kind of reason to abduct and torture somebody? Well, civilized people wouldn't think so. It just so happens that we live in a nation with a bunch of uncivilized people, and we live also with their enablers. I think it's important to tie the social or the cultural milieu that this individual and people like him and institutions like Drexel University are crafting. They're crafting a culture in America today and around the world, when you can look and see what happens in Germany and other European nations when there's conflict between the global southern population and the global northern population. The global northern population is always the aggressor, and the global southern population is always the victim. This individual has had a prime role in crafting a culture where Brittany Herring's actions are not only acceptable, but they're reasonable. and I can assume that there are going to be people, and I mean, I'm sure Black Twitter is lit up with reasons why he deserved what he got. My main point in this video is to say that Drexel University, by supporting this individual, and by supporting him, they have supported a person who has crafted an environment in which this person's actions are acceptable. Drexel University has a responsibility to act against this man in order to prevent more of what happened to this man.